are back with the budding business of marijuana and a decision that some say could turn Oakland into the Silicon Valley of pot. Last night, Oakland becoming the first city to authorize industrial-scale farms to grow medical marijuana. Starting next year, the city will issue 4 permits to massive pot factories, which could be as large as 100,000 square feet. That is about 2 football fields each worth of marijuana, all of it within Oakland city limits. Supporters say it'll create jobs and generate tax revenues for the Northern California city, but small growers who currently supply weed to Oakland's medical marijuana clinics worry they'll be squeezed out by the big guys, kind of like a Walmartization, if you will, of the weed business in California. So the big question today is pot farming going corporate? Who will become the Ernst and Julio Gallo of the marijuana industry? And what kind of a country has legalized corporate pot farming in one state and a year in jail in another? Joining us now, founder and president of AgraMed, Jeff Wilcox. He's hoping to get a permit for one of these massive marijuana fields in Oakland. What is your, before we get into the details of this, Jeff, what is your view on the push towards the lifting of the prohibition and all the rest of it in California when it comes to marijuana?
I think it's a very exciting time in California. I also work with Richard Lee on Prop 19 on the passage of that.
And why, can you elaborate on what you think is so exciting about the move towards the end of prohibition of marijuana in California?
Well, I lived in Europe for a while, and they've taken a different approach towards what I consider soft drugs. Cannabis is in our community. It's estimated that 100,000 Americans have tried it out of 300,000, 1 in 3, and 17% are regular users. So in my case, this seems like to be the elephant in the room, so to say. And so I encouraged a conversation to say, can we legalize this? Can we tax it? And can we make these jobs out of this?
What did you think when you saw the response, particularly from the smaller marijuana growers, saying, hang on a second here, these giant pot farms are going to put us out of business?
I thought it was a good, healthy dialogue, but you have to look at the idea is not to put them out of business. You have to look at the liquor industry and maybe the wine industry. You can get a bottle of wine for $6, $10. You can get a bottle of wine for $150. You'll have the same stagnation of price in this. You'll have your artisan growers that can grow the best stuff, and you'll have the big gallows that'll produce, instead of a $400 an ounce, we can produce this at probably $40 an ounce for people.
Is the end game Philip Morris? In other words, even somebody like you get blown out by a massive corporate grower?
No, the end game, Oakland took a real chance last night. They took a first mover position in this. So the end game is really to open this up to everybody. This is a social entrepreneur's dream, I guess you can say. So it's bigger than just getting rich. It's really, how do we change the laws and legalize things?
And you're looking at marijuana farming and marijuana selling and all the rest of it basically through the lens of a wine culture or a vineyard culture. Is that fair?
If you look at the liquor industry, it's stagnated. You have manufacturers, distribution, retail sales. Cannabis will take the same format. What we're looking at, what I was interested in is the beginning. How do you manufacture and distribute? Cultivation is also part of manufacturing. So right now you have an unregulated industry. That was a real issue.
Speaking of an unregulated industry, might I remind you that it's not only an unregulated industry, that it is illegal in the vast majority of this country to possess, sell, consume marijuana.
Correct.
It is not illegal to consume red wine, for instance. So we can talk all day about the vineyard culture and the marijuana, the artisanal marijuana and the Ernst and Julio Gallo marijuana. But as somebody who's trying to develop this business, how worried are you that the federal government will not only take all of your resources, but put you in jail?
That's always a concern, but I have to ask you another question. Why is it illegal? Under whose laws?
The federal government.
In Nevada, in the federal government. So why don't we have gambling and prostitution here? Because it's illegal under state laws. So there's an issue of federalism and who takes precedence. And our intent is to follow the medical cannabis laws. Yes, our intent is to always follow the medical cannabis laws in the state of California.
I understand that, and I can see that it's actually advanced to the point that we're having this conversation on MSNBC in the afternoon about marijuana farms in Northern California. But
yes,
We also see the marijuana retail outlets explode in places like Los Angeles, where all of a sudden there's 5 marijuana dispensaries for every Starbucks in Southern California, and then the feds will come in and shut it down. I don't understand. Are you anxious as a businessman to invest in the development of this business, however far ahead of the curve Oakland may be, because of the issue between states' rights and the federal government that could easily come back to bite you?
They could easily come back to bite me, but we could be on the cutting edge also.
In other words, you're up for the fight.
I think they declared a war on drugs. We'd like to have a peace. But if they need a fight, we have to do it through legislation and things like this.
Obviously, you think marijuana should be legal in all 50 states, or am I jumping to a conclusion?
I think that's a good conclusion, yes.
Okay. All right, listen, Jeff, keep us posted. It's been an interesting period of time in this country because of the disparity from one state to another as a wine culture emerges potentially around marijuana in California and get you a year in jail here in New York. Jeff Wilcox, aspiring...
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeff Wilcox, aspiring marijuana farmer. Coming up.